Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 53 of Freedom Matters Action Group. I'm your host, Krishna, and joining me is the lovely Mrs. Teresa. How are you?
I am great, Krishna. How is everyone doing tonight? Hopefully, you're having a fantastic Thursday.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm certainly excited for this episode, as all of you should be as well, as we are going to interview Dan Mathews, who is running on the Republican ticket for the newly created Texas State District, District 76. So we will bring him on after we cover some announcements and a couple of news stories.
We're good. I'm very excited that he's asked to be coming on the show and that we get to give him the opportunity to share some of the things that he believes really strongly in so that you, the viewers, can see exactly who he is, the type of person he is, and then, go out and use your vote.
Absolutely, yep. So you'll at the very least have a lot of good information and research to make a more informed decision.
Yeah, and we like to give out really good information. And one person who gives out pretty good information, I've been following him for a little while, is Clay Clark. And he has the Reawakening Tour. The Reawakening Tour is called, if you go to time2freeamerica.com, you can find out if there's a place close to you. There is the latest one is in Oklahoma. What I like about, and I wouldn't say love, but what I like about Clay Clark is when he gives you information, he tells you how to go about finding the information for yourself. He encourages you to do your due diligence, to research it on your own. And then he will explain the connections that he's made between Klaus Schwab and the vaccines and every other thing that's going on in our country right now. He's a Christian man, and he's had so many different people talk during these Reawakening tours, talking about the medical, talking about economics, talking about freedom and choice and vaccine mandates and the World Economic Forum, talking about the WHO, which is the World Health Organization. So, he gives a lot of great information. And I would say go ahead and take a look. He's also on Thrive Time. He's called the Thrive Time Show on Rumble. If you haven't been on Rumble to watch videos, they are not censored like YouTube censors specific information that they don't want out. So it's a really good platform so far. There's some things that I think they still need to work out on the platform as far as searching and things like that. But it's a really great alternative.
Yep, Rumble, Odyssey, yeah, absolutely, yep.
Odyssey is great too, yeah.
Indeed, yeah, and remind us again, Teresa, when that Reawakening tour is happening, what date?
Yes, so let me show the website. It's timetoFreeAmerica.com, and I'm going to share with everyone their screen, their website, so you can go there. So their Reawakening tour, they have had a lot in a lot of different cities across our nation. And so the latest one, it looks like September 1st in Tulsa, Oklahoma. All of the other ones, as you can see, have been sold out. But the next one's in September.
Yeah, just say, folks, are you looking at this, you probably need to zoom in full screen to see it, just like I had to. So just in case you're wondering why it's so small.
Yeah, is it small on the screen? Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah, but if you zoom in, then it's fine. But yeah, I just have to full screen it. Yeah.
But if you are, if you want to just go, and the great thing about it is you don't have to pay a certain price. Of course, you can donate, but you can basically name your own price to attend, because what they don't want is the same thing that happens most of the time when we want information. It's only eligible for or available or attainable by the elite who have thousands of dollars to attend these events. So you can pay as little as $20 to go to these things, or as much as you'd like to contribute to the cause. So I thought it was a really great thing to talk about tonight. I would check them out. The other thing I was talking about is the Reawakening tour. You can find it on Rumble as well. It's called thrivetimeshow.com. So that's a really good feature. And it's right here at the top, Thrive Time Show. If you click on that, it's actually going to take you to some more information as well. You can request tickets by texting and get information as well. Name your own price is basically what they're doing there.
Okay, that's certainly interesting. And good announcement and a good event to make if you can. And even before that, this Saturday in Fort Bend County are a couple of events, a couple of block walks actually. One, for Governor Abbott. So I believe that is going to happen, at the Pablo's Mexican Kitchen, 9711 South Mason Road in Richmond, Texas. So, get out there and do that if you can. I mean, really anything to prevent Beto O'Rourke from becoming our governor is worthy of our support and our effort. If anything, we need a veto Beto, not just because of his bad policies, but because of the really disgusting, I would say, political pandering he does with his name Beto, when he's not the least bit Hispanic. He's fully Irish, which there's nothing wrong with being fully Irish or Hispanic or anything else, but there's pretty much everything wrong with pretending to be a certain ethnicity or race, especially, to score political points. And by the way, Beto, if you're listening to this, I mean, you're not fooling at least as many people as you'd like by pretending to, be Hispanic by calling yourself Beto. That, along with your bad policies, is why we need to veto Beto.
Right. I completely agree.
For sure, yes.
And here's the date and time right here. So that's Saturday, August 27th at 9 a.m. And there's the address at the Pablo's Mexican Kitchen at 9711 South Mason Road, Suite 130, Richmond, Texas. So hope to see you guys there. I'm hoping to make it too after dropping my daughter off at dance. I might be able to make it there, so that'll be good. That'll be good. It'll actually be my first time helping go door to door. So it'll, you got to kind of get yourself out there, get out of your comfort zone, and then just
get off the couch.
Yeah, get off the couch. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Nothing's going to happen. No one's going to come and save anything. It's all you and me and everybody who really cares about everything. You have to just get out and do things. That's
right. Yep. Just like, our ancestors had done.
That's right. And they fought worse battles than we're fighting right now. This is
that's putting it lightly.
Yeah. I mean, they had to shed a lot of blood and death, and that's not necessarily happening right now. It's a technology war, information war, and
yeah, that's for darn sure. Yeah,
and a takeover, communistic takeover is really what they're trying to do right now. So
absolutely, yeah. And then on that Saturday, there's also a block walk for Trevor Nels. This one's going to be at 9:30 a.m. this Saturday, and that one's going to be in Katy at 23860 Westheimer Parkway in Katy, Texas. So yeah, 2 block walks happening almost at the same time, both in Fort Bend County. And with Trevor, I do believe FMAG is endorsing Nels. Not that he is flawless, but he certainly is the only option to get rid of the god-awful KP George, which we definitely do not support and do not want. So yeah, that's another block walk that we want to announce. And then, on the note of KP George, I'm not sure if I'm sure you've probably heard, Teresa, about the contract that he had signed with the Center for Tech and Civil Life that was funded by Zuckerberg to the tune of like 300 million for like what they say is like promoting election security, but we know that that's clearly not really what they're doing.
Right. They like to put money invested into nonprofit organizations, making it look or appear like it's a really great thing. But really what they're trying to do is hush money so they can steal the vote. And if you still are not convinced that the elections are tampered with or votes have flipped and things like that, you really kind of need to reach out to us so we can get you that information. The truth, because the media obviously is not going to cover that. They're going to just, the same thing that they do with everything, they just call it a name and try to move on from it. So they call it the big lie, not the big lie at all. So reach out to us and we can give you more specific information on the election, like the 2000 Mules, how they did that. I mean,
yeah, right. Watch that movie for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not surprised that he actually took some money. I mean, he was trying to get Disney to come here.
And right.
Here, I mean, he's as corrupt as they come. I mean, and if you ever listen to him, who knows how he got elected? I mean, he's just like a Biden type of personality where he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And yet he was somehow elected, so.
Right. Yeah. And I'm sharing the contract, which is on public record between the Center Center for Tech and Civil Life in KP George. So the Center for Tech and Civil Life awarded KP George a contract of $506,500 for the purpose of planning and operationalizing safe and secure election administration in Fort Bend County in 2020. I mean, we know that the Democrats are not trustworthy with securing and making sure our elections are safe.
So you know what I like that ended up happening because of this election where there was so much fraud is that so many more people are awake. Why would there not be so many people awake? So many people voted for certain people that didn't actually make it into office. And they're like, whoa, what happened? Because I know that person is a good person. I know that that is the person that everyone would more than half would vote for, and they should have been elected. So what I like is that people are rising up so much that they can't steal the vote as easily. If you look at the Kerry Lake situation in Arizona.
Yeah, right. They really tried like very, very hard. Yeah.
They did. And they tried kind of like, kicking the can down the road a couple days to not give her that victory night on the election night, right? I mean, you have, what is it? Did they say it was a France that has like, I don't know, 13 million people, or I mean, it's an astronomical amount of people that they vote on the same day and they have the results on the same day. I don't understand why we don't have that here, with the exception of what we already know with the Zuckerbucks going into these places and then them trying to add
KP George,
add the ballots after hours or say that they're done counting for the night. And that's never happened in the history that I know of, although I haven't been, following elections my entire adult life, but I have been voting since I was 18. But I wouldn't say that I've been following like I do now. So,
indeed, yeah. And then I did hear that the Sugar Creek conservatives, so they're based in Sugar Creek, Texas, had discussed this contract in their meeting this past Tuesday. So, yeah, I mean, like you were saying, like all this fraud is like definitely made people more angry and active. It's sort of rude awakening and a slap in the face for sure.
So do you know what they were saying about that at their meeting? Were they just bringing up the topic? Okay, that would be interesting.
Yeah, I know they met. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, maybe next week when if I do find out, like I can certainly say and talk about what came out of that. And but yeah, speaking of elections, that is a perfect transition to our guest tonight, as I mentioned, Dan Mathews, running on the Republican ticket for the newly created Texas District number 76. He joins us now. Good evening, Dan. How are you? Great to have you.
Hey, good evening. Thanks for having me, Teresa and Krishna.
Yeah, you bet, for sure. And just to give some background context, first of all, congratulations on winning the Republican primary election this past March. I know that was pretty challenging. You defeated both Mike Kahn and Ramesh Cherivirala. From what I understand, Mike Kahn has a pretty big name with this radio show. And Ramesh Cherivirala also has a big name because he had run many times before and he's got a lot of money. And sadly, in these things, money tends to often be half the battle. So congratulations on that primary victory.
Oh, really appreciate it. Elections are all about who you are and how you resonate your messages. Every day that I talk to people, they really care about people, reach out to them and talk to them one-on-one. They don't really trust the politicians. You can send them all you want, but in the end of the day, they make their own decisions. So that is a big lessons that I learned.
Absolutely. It's just
Fantastic.
like the police officers as well. In the neighborhoods, you have certain neighborhoods who trust the police and you have certain neighborhoods who don't trust the police. And there's a reason for that. You have to make that connection with people. You can't come across as you're better than the people who elected you, right? And I think that's a big lesson that a lot of people are learning in politics today.
It is all about trust. Nowadays, if you look at it, people don't have much trust on anyone, and especially the politicians, unless you prove them what you are telling. You stand on, you walk on your words. That is pretty important. That's what I'm trying to do.
Right.
For sure, yeah. Yeah, it was good. Also, then ask Dan if you could talk a little bit more about that and what really motivated you to run for office, or what motivated you.
If I'm thinking correctly, I didn't have any reason to do this until I see how the things are going. Do you hear echo? I think I
a little
hear
bit.
Go back. Okay. the reason I came out to run is because of what the political situations these days, how our country is going. I mean, granted, I came to America 34 years ago. I mean, the time is totally different from 34 years ago to now. I mean,
Yeah,
we
for
are
sure.
we are becoming one of the countries that we came from. I came from India.
As did my parents.
The
Yeah.
politics is turned into that way. Everything else is turned into that way. But we should keep America the best place in the face of the earth, and we all need to work on it. And that was my one of the number one agenda why I am running for the office. We can make some difference and changes.
For sure, yeah. And can you talk about like what specific ways you mentioned, like coming from India, that you see America starting to resemble? Like, in what specific ways do you feel that America is resembling India that you have left from
Well,
from India?
I stand on the fundamentals, which is the faith, family, and freedom. If you look at it, that is what is being attacked in America. So,
Absolutely,
regardless
yeah.
who it is being attacked. Your faith, your families, and freedom is being attacked. Yes, we have to restore that faith, family, and freedom, and that I'm standing on it. And I do not want to explain too much about what is happening nowadays, but look at what is happening with the Texas. Our crime is up. The border security is not there anymore. But not
That's
only
right.
that,
Yeah.
we are in a time of unprecedented time, never been like this. 40 years of inflation, and things are not going well. So we have to turn this ship around.
Yeah, what do you
Right.
see as the main area that you can help with our whoever the governor is at the time? Hopefully, it's Abbott over Beto. But how do you think you could help in legislating our current governor?
Well, the 88th legislation is going to be pretty important. There's a few things they will be working on, and there are some legislative priorities are already out there. But again, Texas is a state of law and order, and we must maintain that. We have to prevent the crime. That's for sure. People are talking to me. They are not safe to go out themselves. Including today. Some of them told me that they don't we don't feel safe anymore. So again, we have to restore the law and order. So our governor, I know his number one goal is to continue that and to keep the public safe, that every Texan safe. And I am standing there with him in every step of the way to make sure that we have a safe state and keep our public safe.
What are your thoughts on gun control?
Well, the gun control is something that is a very touchy subject, but I am for the Second Amendment. We want to make sure that we protect our Second Amendment, and so that's what I'm standing on.
Very good. I see that if there
Good,
is
yeah.
crime that rises, the crime is only going to get worse when people can't sit and protect themselves when the police officers are not available. So crime is going to continue getting worse, which it will as long as our borders are open and they're allowing people to just come in that are drug lords and criminals, and even the people who live here, who have been here, who are lifelong criminals, that they're not really addressing those issues with those people. If our crime gets worse, then I could be driving down the road, and if I don't have something to protect myself, then there's no police officer around to help me at that particular point, or even
Well,
at my house for that matter.
Well, that's true. You know what? In the last legislation, they passed what they call the Damon Allen Act, which is Senate Bill 6. That means every judge has a responsibility to make sure that they are setting the bail accordingly, so the criminals don't get out of hand and come back like a revolving door. Go out and you already
Yeah,
know that
right.
Damon Allen is a police officer who got shot and killed by a criminal, went out to the public and came back and murdered that officer. We got to make sure that our judges will take care that they don't set the bail too low that the criminals can get away with it and they can continue to be in the public. We want to make sure that we have a good judicial system to that set the bail with responsible judges do that. We got to continue to impose that law. Damon Allen Act.
And one of the things that I've heard over, and it's not necessarily here in Texas. I'm not sure if it's in Houston, but in some of the other major cities like Minnesota, Chicago, I believe there are a couple other major cities, where maybe Oregon, where Antifa was actually the members of Antifa were bailed out by possibly Soros's money. So maybe in addition to the high bail for repeat offenders, maybe just not allow them to get out of jail. Maybe they have an actual consequences as far as like staying in jail to do the time for the crime that they've committed, and maybe cracking down on it. I know that as because I'm in education, when you have a specific consequence for a specific action, then more people are deterred from doing it if you have a really strong a consequence.
Well, that is exactly right. You know what? Antifa, there's no room for Antifa or any other terrorist organization in America. But that is not what America is called for. Like you said, even including Texas is the state with the law and order. We continue to impose that. We will maintain that freedom for all of our citizens. Keeping them in jail, finding a way that they won't get out is very important. I mean, we should not and we must not do that.
Yeah, for sure. Like I remember like in the summer of 2020, like all these like liberal big cities where they have, very strict gun control and the police stood down. The citizens couldn't fend themselves against the rioters. Like in New York City, they were using baseball bats, shows that, gun control doesn't work. And and no gun control laws must be passed.
Well, I mean, that is one of the hardest two hardest things that I'm hearing these days. One is the inflation, and everyone is complaining about it because that's not the normal America they have been. You know what? Like I said earlier, this is the best place. But a few years ago, I met a person. I'm going to tell you some real story. I met a person with 7 kids. And I was talking to different things with them. And you know what he said about it? Dan, I only care about putting food on the table for my children. That is not happening anymore, or there are people having hard time meeting their ends. Then the second one is the crime. They are not safe to go out. If you look at it, 30, 40 years ago in America, you never heard that a police officer had been shot, or you never seen or heard that a church got robbed for their tithe or offering it was putting in their in the church. But nowadays that's become a norm. Our morality have changed.
Oh yeah.
We have to educate, and we got to get into the youngsters to make sure that we teach them the right thing. Put together the family first. Family first. I stand for the Texas first. Our family is the fabric of our society. Yes,
absolutely.
We have to teach our children the right thing to do.
Right now, the CRT in education is banned for Texas, right? And I already read your platform. You don't agree with CRT in our schools, and I can completely agree with that. There is supposedly a new curriculum that's being voted on in Austin on August 30th. If that passes, what I'm understanding from Ms. Carmen, she talked to us a couple weeks ago. She's
Carmen
also running
for Congress.
She's saying that they're trying to sneak in the CRT into this new curriculum. What measures do you plan on putting forth to ensure that our Texas education is not infiltrated in that way? Because there's so many ways that they can do that. They're doing it through the possibility through the social emotional learning, where the teachers can have conversations with the kids, maybe about conversations that maybe should be at home with the parents and not at school. But what were your thoughts, or what have you learned through the process of CRT, and how do you plan on addressing that?
Well, make no mistake, I am not for CRT. Our children should not be taught CRT or CSC. You only know what CSC is. At a young age,
I don't actually. So can you explain that? Like when you get a chance? Yeah.
CSC is the comprehensive sex education, teaching children.
I already don't take it.
Young children, things what people learning in adulthood, teaching them in a very young age. I mean, that is not what a healthy society should be.
That's like all part of like the drag queen, story time disgusting stuff that they're doing, right? Or is that something different?
It is not something that as a parent would love to read that with the children, because that's extremely craziness. So we should not, our school should not. Let's go back to the fundamentals, which is teaching our children the science, technology, math, history, those things. Educate them in the right way. I will
Yeah.
stand with that. I will stand that. There is no reason that we need to promote those kind of nonsense. You know what? We have to keep up and build a healthy society, and that's the way we can. We have the place that I came from had 2,000, 3,000 years of history and tradition and heritage of how people have been learned. You know what? A matter of fact, there will be a better society in those days than now. A society that respect the elders, the adults.
That's right.
It's not. It is not a totally disastrous atmosphere like the schools these days. Like I said
Yeah.
earlier, we have to go back to the fundamentals and teach our children the right thing. Help them to learn it. Help them learn what they need. Your science, your technology, English, math, history, those kind of things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that what's not as well appreciated, like in our civilization, is that if we succumb to educational and cultural and moral decay, like we have, like severely over the last few years and generation, then liberty does not prevail and sustain, and neither does civilization. And CRT is just one manifestation of that, as is CSC, and that's why both of those things need to be abolished. And quite frankly, they never should have been allowed to come into existence.
Well, I mean, when you look at the CRT, well, you had to understand that there's a history behind those. Well, learn from the history and move on. Don't dwell on that. We do not want any more racism in America. We're not a racist country.
Right. That's
We
right.
do not to ponder those things and indoctrinate kids, children about that. Let them learn it, but you know what? That's not indoctrinating. It's two different things. If I look at the caste system in India, yes, there was a caste system, but you know what? I am not
Yeah.
imposing that caste system anymore. We try to leave out of that and move on to get everyone the equal opportunity. You know what? In our fundamentals, our essentials of our democracy is life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Everyone should have that liberty to pursue happiness. That's what
Absolutely.
something we should be focusing on.
Speaking of
Amen.
which,
Yeah.
I know one of the questions that Krishna was wanting to talk about tonight is your position on vaccine mandates, because when you're talking about the pursuit of happiness and freedom and liberty, what are your thoughts on vaccine mandates?
You know, we might think there's a partisan line on mandate, but that is not true. I know it's people on both sides don't agree with that. You know, that is where your freedom comes. If you feel like you need to take a vaccine to protect yourself, you know what is your condition of your health. I only know what the condition of my health. You don't know. You see, I'm looking good, but you know what? You do not know me. Or
Right.
same as you guys, everyone else. You know what? Let them protect themselves. If they feel like their children need to be protected, go and get it. That's where the freedom comes from. You know, the other thing is what is part of the socialism and communism, because one order imposes everyone do it. America is not like that. America is an exceptional world that people have the freedom to do things what they are good for themselves. So I would not push as a vaccine as a mandate, but you know what? It's available for everyone if they think they need to take one.
Right on. That's
and
what I
we
like to
can
hear.
we can agree. I mean, Freedom Matters Action Group was out there from the very beginning against all of the mandates and against the mask mandate. We rallied together. We had a few rallies. We went and protested. We went and petitioned our Board of Education to get rid of the mask mandates and things like that. So we completely agree with you there. I was listening to, we were talking about Clay Clark earlier, and he mentioned
Well, let me
something
go
that,
back and let
sure.
me interrupt you a little bit about the mask mandate. I know numerous people wearing masks came up with COVID. So
Yeah.
have we made the differentiation? Is that a very good barrier or not? Hey, if it works on you, put it on. If it doesn't work, don't impose on anyone.
Well, like you
Right.
said earlier,
Excellent, yeah.
that history repeats itself, or at least you can learn from history. And we learned from the flu of the in the 1920s, or excuse me, I think it's 1912, the Spanish flu.
Oh, 1918. Yeah.
1918, yeah. Sorry. But, we
Okay.
already learned that masks didn't work back then. So,
Oh,
if
yeah.
they did, we would have been wearing them during flu season, which actually is all year round. So,
Yeah, every year. Yeah.
it would be all year round. You can get the flu all year round. There's probably higher seasons of it when you're indoors and you're not getting vitamin D and some of the other things that you need in your body. But I was going to say before, Clark had mentioned something, an executive order that Biden had actually signed. And if it goes into effect, I believe
One of hundreds. Yeah.
in December, I want to say it's 14067 or 14069. I'd have to go back and check. But anyway, that one is where he basically signed off on a social credit score system for citizens of the United States. Do you know anything about that, or your opinion about that?
Well, I did hear about it, but again, I just mentioned it. I understand science, and if you want to wear a mask, and I'll give you a better choice and a better option, wear the respirator, gas respirator. And I did wear that on the very beginning to just show that if you're wearing mask, you should wear a respirator. You know what is respirator is? If you go into a fume area, a gas area, that will protect you because you are 100% sure that that does not infiltrate through your mask. That cartridge, that means you got two cartridge on both sides.
Yeah.
That on look like in a place where the chemical attack is happening somewhere. I mean, we see things like that. That is the workable solutions if we talk about masks. But everyone, they look like aliens.
Well, I think there was actually a shortage of those because there were a lot of people who bought those at that time too. So you weren't the only one, Dan.
Right.
No, I have plenty in my stock because I'm a person going to the refinery, out to the field. I mean, from the oil and gas. Every time I go to their areas, which is there's a hazardous area that you had to wear certain things, that you had to wear the proper PPE. You got to follow that policy and the PPE that you have to follow. So that is, I have few in my stock. I said, well, let me put it on and say how that look like. And that is workable solution.
Yep. Love it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay. And what's your, position on, lockdowns and like forcing businesses to shut down just because the governor makes like some crazy emergency declaration?
Well, the COVID caught not only in America, everywhere, it's a surprise. People learned in different ways. No one had any lessons learned from a previous incident like that. So I can see that how things are gone in a wrong way, how things are worked out. But regardless of it, I can tell you that there's numerous people, hundreds of them that I talked to, many of them, they went out of business because of shutdowns, because of the COVID. Many of them barely hang on their thread until now. I watch when I drive and I go and look at businesses and I try to promote them. You know what? They barely survive those things. We want to make sure that those things would not happen anymore. Those things, we cannot shut down somebody. That is why the communism comes in. We should not. If I feel like I can operate my business with the most effective way, I know how to operate that. So let that business owners, business people decide on what is the best for them.
Amen. That's
Absolutely.
Excellent. And
well, you have no, whether you are a governor or a president or anyone else, you don't have any freedom to put someone out of business. And there are thousands of them already there.
Right.
That's
Otherwise,
right.
they could have survived. You think that everything what they did, whether it's a county judge or the state leaders, whoever did it, is the right thing? How can they prove they did the right thing? I don't think so. Like I said, people wear masks 24 hours, even sleeping, they wear masks, and they got COVID.
Right.
And
maybe
we know some of them already around in our area.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still seeing some people driving around still in their car by themselves, wearing their mask and wearing gloves. And it really is heartbreaking. I do pray for those people because it's just like the fear mongering has gotten to them. And so hopefully one day they'll kind of just feel more comfortable taking off the mask or taking off the gloves. Your body needs to have germs in order for your and oxygen for your body to actually build up an immunity to any kind of thing. I mean, we've talked about it many times on this show that our bodies come in contact with billions and billions of viruses every single day. So, and bacteria and things. So our body, if you're trying to protect yourself by putting the mask on, you need to do some research on what the things that live in the mask while you're breathing in and out, all the bacteria that's there and causing issues in the lungs and RSV and young children and things like that. And
well, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. You know what? People operate in a different way in unknown situations. Yeah. When COVID hit the first week or first month, what happened? You already know that everyone was running after toilet paper.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
What is the correlation between toilet paper and COVID? Yep. The entire stores were run out of toilet paper and other things. What is the correlation? So people react in a different way when unknown things happen. We do not have a set standard for that.
Yeah.
And again, this is a lesson learned. I'm hoping. And again, yet to prove one person tell me that they wear masks or this kind of safety precautions and kept them away from getting the COVID. I know a few of the leaders and they got them. And I saw them 24 hours with this kind of measures.
Yes.
For sure. And speaking of the masks, I mean, if people have forgotten, Governor Abbott took a whole year to finally get rid of the mask mandate. And, I worry that he's still not learned his lesson that, he has no authority to violate the rights and liberties of Texans, even in an emergency. And it's also too bad that he has not signed the Texas First Pledge, which you have. So I wanted to ask you about that, Dan. What that means, from your perspective to signing the Texas First Pledge and, what motivated you to sign it?
Well, Krishna, I already mentioned that, I'm standing here for the public safety, the people of Texas. As a state legislature, if I get in there, it's not if, when I get there, my priority is to make sure that our public, everyone in Texas is safe. I will continue to do that. That's my goal. That's what I'm standing on. That is Texas First means that, our freedom, our economy, our people, our education. Texas, we are lacking in several of these areas. We have over 1,500 miles of border. And the border is nothing but I should say a creek. It's a river, but in certain areas, it's just nothing but more than a creek. It's an easy pass to get in, and anyone can. We thought it's only the people on the southern border cross over, but it's not. It's people from over 100 plus countries coming through, through that border. You know what? If China can protect their border, if India and Pakistan can protect their border, if Korea can protect their border,
there's no reason we shouldn't be able to. We have a much bigger GDP than them. Yeah.
Correct. Why America cannot protect their border? What's wrong with it? What's wrong with protecting our border? How can we argue against it? I'm not talking about the partisan here. I'm talking about the human part of it. Everyone needs protection. Everyone loves to be protected. We have to make sure that there's no criminals. That border is protected, so there won't be influx of people like what is coming in. Well, look at what is happening. We have close to 2 million people, or I don't know the numbers are right now. I saw in July is 200,000 plus people moved in through the border. And out of that, 6,000 went to New York or Washington, and they're already complaining about it. They should not be, because Texas has almost 2 million people already in here without any documentation. And out of that, it's a fraction went to those states, the people who doesn't care about it, but they already start complaining. But they should not complain about it. Why they are complaining? Because you know what? They're themselves. They're not with their own conscience saying that, we need open border. They were forced to say it. No, I don't think anyone. The crime, where does the crimes come from? The drug, the overflow of the drug, fentanyl, those kind of things. Is freely coming to Texas, number one.
And I was just watching, I have a 13-year-old daughter. And so as soon as I saw this on the news last night, it's actually really scary. I was like, you need to come and look at this. So let me share
And sorry, just give me a few seconds. I'm just going to turn the lights up. But yeah, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. So there is now the fentanyl, the way that they're making it looks like candy. And I'm sure that they've made it like this for many, many years, but this is now more than ever here, close to home, So here is the latest. Looks like little sprees or sweethearts. This is what they're finding. That is fentanyl.
I mean, it's like I'd much rather see crime scene photos than that.
Yep. It is fentanyl in the shape and the feel of little candy. So I told my daughter, I was like, you know what? You have a lot of candy here at home. So just don't take any candy from anybody because you don't know. Someone could think that it's candy at home and take it to school and share it. You just don't know. So I just told her, just don't take any candy from anybody at this point because you only need a fraction. I mean, the tip of your pencil or pen of fentanyl to kill you. So, I mean, this is a really serious issue.
Especially for small children. Yeah, it's probably even less than that. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the rainbow fentanyl targeting teens and even younger, I'm sure, little kids too.
Oh, how wonderful. They inject a Pride Month theme by calling it rainbow fentanyl.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, it's always about that. Right. So it just kind of disgusts me, obviously, but it's coming straight from China through our open borders. And not that we had it under control when our borders were a little bit more closed and protected and people were being vetted coming through, but it for sure is a free all for everybody now.
Well, I mean, that's exactly right. You know what? This is not a partisan issue. Which family, which parent wants to poison their children with this fentanyl, the synthetic drug made in China comes to our schools, our children, and let them get poisoned? I mean, this is because of an agenda that to spoil our children, our next generation.
But it is not racist to say that this comes from China. It's not Chinese people. I know. I mean, I teach a lot of people from Asia and India, or I should say China, India, because Asia is both. But
indeed, yeah.
I teach kids from everywhere. I mean, in Fort Bend, we have kids from everywhere. So I care about everybody. Yeah. And so it's not racist to say that this is coming from China because that's where it's coming from.
Well, I mean, it's not where it comes from. Where it's going, that is what more important is. It could come from anywhere in the world. I mean, I know that it doesn't come from space. It doesn't come from moon. It comes from some countries. It could be anywhere from the world. I do not know what the sources of it. But regardless of where it's coming from, but that is not what matters. What matters is where is this going to? It's going into our children, our next generation. That is pretty important. That we need to control and stop those things.
Absolutely.
What do you think?
Absolutely.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Dan, I did also want to ask, I remember, but like leading up to the primaries when the challengers for Governor Abbott at the time, Alan West, Don Huffines, and Chad Prather were in a quasi debate. It was really just more of a forum, which Governor Abbott chose not to attend. They were asked about their positions on, any state funding for alternative energy, meaning like wind and solar. So I wanted to ask what your position on that is, as far as like if you would support like any state funding for any of these alternative energy programs.
Well, I'm someone came from the energy industry. I spent last quarter of century in the energy industry, and that is in the oil and gas. I'm still in there. Well, you have to understand that we have to have a sustainable energy source. Right now, fossil fuel is one.
That's right.
I don't know what is on the next century is, on the next generation will be. But you know what? Until we get there. Today I was talking to someone. He came back as a person. I thought he is someone is not in my side, but he came in and said, Dan, what is your stand on this energy policies? I said, you know what? Right outside my office, I have a couple of solar lights. I like that. That's good enough to just illuminate a small area. But you know what? That is solar is good. Alternate renewable energies are good until we get there, and something we should look into that for the next coming years. But right now, there's no point of we shutting down our energy source. All these things happening now. People are complaining about inflation, complaining about
Right.
high gas price. The
Right.
rent is up, crime is up, food is up, and all rest of the things. Everything you touch is up. People cannot live on. People cannot meet their ends. All this started because of our energy policy. We shut down or we turned our back on to the energy sector. That is what happened. And unless we change our policy on that way, that we won't see a sustainable change in the coming years. Until we reach to those kind of renewable energy in a meaningful way, we already know that the fossil fuel is not going to last for general fuel too many long years.
Right.
That's natural resources, but then we should have, and we have to be smart enough to have those things and get there in a very meaningful way. However, until then, we have to make sure that we have a sustainable energy source in a way that people can afford it. 2 years ago, they were able to afford, driving a big truck or things like that. This time
And I
they
would
can't.
say, it's interesting to at the very least, you can promote conserving, right? Every business
Yeah.
can, cut back and conserve in certain areas. I mean, you turn the lights on, you leave the lights on in a room. I mean, those are just simple fixes that you can do at home.
Yes.
And I would say that anyone who's in that industry and anyone who is making those decisions for sustainable energy is to really look at the long-term effects of what happens when that material no longer works. That material now is degrading. What type of chemicals are coming from those materials, and where is it going? Because when we came across the plastic industry, we really didn't think that through as to like, where's all the plastic going to go and how are we going to recycle? It took us a little bit. So if we could be on the forefront of that and actually thinking it through long term, I think that we could really sell a really good, impactful, sustainable energy.
Well, that's right. You know what? People think that the gasoline is what you put on your car or your vehicle, but that's not so. Everything you touch is it. All the
Yep.
plastic that you are,
Including the solar panels and the wind turbines, which are produced
everything you
using
touch is
fossil fuels.
exactly. Everything you touches come from where?
Right.
It's from the hydrocarbons. Then people
Right. It's
don't
like
understand that. So you
right.
cannot
Yeah.
look at now. We have to be energy smart. People start recognizing it, realizing what is happening, their energy bill. Yesterday, I talked to someone and said my energy bill is $500. That is like almost like their mortgage a few years ago.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
why is that? Why is that happening? Because look at the natural gas price. It was $3 for a million square versus now is $10. It tripled. Power plants uses natural gases. If it's not solar, if it's not nuclear, then they use natural gas, cogen facilities, things like that. They use natural gases, and natural gas prices going higher, and they are paying more on the energy cost on the electric power bill. So again, we have to go back and stay on our sustainable energy source until we reach somewhere that we can rely on. Right now, we
Right.
cut the lifeline and we don't have another alternate source. That's what's happening in America today.
Right.
So
I mean,
is
the
this
only
part of
factories we've been able to have are ones that are either powered by gasoline or nuclear factories, as you talked about a bit. Like there are no factories that are powered entirely like by wind power or entirely by solar, and that tells you that they're not as good of an energy source as fossil fuels or even nuclear, which the alternative energy crowd never seems to even consider nuclear. But and I'm not like against like solar or wind energy. If people want to go do that on their own, that's fine. Like if some entrepreneur wants to develop like a wind energy source or a solar energy program or infrastructure that really is as good as, if not better than fossil fuels or nuclear, that's great. Or if people want to like buy up stocks of companies that are doing that, that's totally fine. What I really detest is when people are in favor of like forcibly taxing and making other people pay for things that they don't want and are clearly not viable because they wouldn't need any sort of taxpayer money or subsidies if they truly were viable naturally.
Well, that's correct. The last bill they passed in the federal government, which is the Inflation Reduction Act, about half a
Yeah,
$1 trillion was
oxymoron.
used
Yeah.
for renewable energy, which is more of a solar power, solar panels mainly. What is behind it? What is behind it is that you get foreign countries will get all those money to produce, if it is there, they get that panels made and ship it to us. We are making them rich, not us. In that case, we should make manufacture that here, get more new jobs here in America. Nobody is putting that way. We are trying to import things from overseas, make them rich. We already made several countries rich.
I was going to ask you that same type of question because we have the Build Back Better. And then since you're in the industry right now, I have only heard rumors about regulations. How have the regulations on the oil industry, because of course they want to get rid of that and go to, wind and solar, which will never really happen. It's just all,
Yeah, it's a pipe dream.
It's a pipe dream. Yeah. What are the regulations that you guys are experiencing, and what kind of stronghold does the federal government have on the oil industry?
Well, the regulations play a key role in the energy industry, especially in America. As someone that had business and experience with here in the U.S. and overseas too, you know what? If you look at it, America has the most stringent regulations than anywhere in the world. EPAs and other agencies had put a cuff on the companies, energy companies. However, if you talk about global warming or climate change, it is not America change or America warming, is global warming. So it's very simple. Everyone knows that. Even the little children knows that. Kids, school children know that global warming is a global phenomena. If there is, okay, it is not because of one particular area. The total consumption of oil has not changed. It has not changed. What has changed was the production in America has dropped, but elsewhere is increased. That
Right.
means
China and India are not bound by the Paris Climate Accord. It's only the Western nations. So that's
correct.
another reason that the Paris Climate Accord and this whole fight against global warming is a sham.
Correct. If
Yeah.
you look at it, America has the most, like I said, most stringent laws, the most best available control technology of how to capture the gases, But the rest of the world don't have that. If you look at in Asia or in other continents, South America, hey, they don't have any stringent laws. They can emit as much as they want. Nobody talk about it. But in America, we have the most controlled technology and stringent laws. But like I said, the
Yeah.
output hasn't changed. The total emission hasn't changed. They're putting a handcuff on Americans' energy sector. However, they're promoting the same global warming green gas emission from elsewhere in the world. So it doesn't make sense at all. Everyone knows that. So,
Is
but that's not what it is about. It is about that, America, our policy of towards the energy sector need to be changed.
Now, I know that
Amen. Yeah.
Nikola Tesla is working on a subway that's run by magnets. Is using magnets for sustainable energy for futuristic, is that a pipe dream as well, or is there some possibility there? Do you know?
Well, innovation is always good. How do we get here? It did not happen overnight. It was through innovations, cutting edge technologies. So any innovations are good towards our future long-term goal. Let it be. Let America take a charge and lead of those kind of things.
Absolutely. I mean, even the
Amen.
steam
Yeah.
engine, as great as it is, you still needed coal to run it, right? So you
Oh
still
yeah. Right.
so it just all
I've seen
depends on looking at the big picture and seeing all of the aspects of it, not just focusing on one that makes it sound good to the American people, but really looking at the whole. I think that's good.
Yeah. Absolutely. Um, Okay, Dan, the only other major question I had for you is, aside from whatever we've already discussed, what would you say are the main things that both the Texas legislature, which is Republican controlled at this time, as well as Governor Abbott, can do better to really advance conservative values and people's liberties and the values espoused in the Texas First Pledge?
Well, you know what? What I'm going to support is I'm going to focus on what is affecting our people. Like I said earlier, I'm here to serve everyone, every citizens, every all the constituents in my district. That's what I am here for. I'm looking for their benefits. What I'll do is I support things how will benefit them, and I will look at it. What are the legislative priorities are, and I will stand with them. But I will make sure that it will benefit our residents, including the school finance, school improving school, or in changing the policies towards our energy companies so they can operate better. Those kind of things. That's what I will look at. What are the legislatives that I can support, and I will stand behind it.
All right, amen. Yeah.
Fantastic. And you can be found for information on you. You can be
Yeah.
found at texansfordan.com. And I'm going to share, because you have an upcoming event. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah.
Yes, I'm having a meet and greet fundraiser reception is going to be on September 7th, Wednesday, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Safari Texas Ranch. That is in Richmond, Texas. You can look at my website or my social media. And I really want to invite all the people who can come together and support. And this is a moment. This is something that's for the people. So I really appreciate people who will come for that meet and greet. And if you have any questions, just ask me directly. I just talk to people directly. I don't need someone to go channel through someone to get my message out. I get my message out directly. And not only that, you can call me directly and I answer my phones and I emails. That's what like I said earlier, it is about how we serve the people, how we reach out to the people. And I am not one of the elite member of the society that you cannot reach me. If you call, you're going to get my phone, my cell phone. You don't get my secretary. I want to be accessible to everyone in my district. I want to make sure that I serve them well with the dignity and
Excellent.
honor.
Yeah, excellent. Fantastic. Yeah. Yeah. And I do also want to say that the venue for your event on September 7th is actually the same venue for tomorrow's Cash Patel event. So if you can make that, then, that's where it'll be.
I'm trying to make that event. I'm having a conflict. I'm trying to see that if I can get out a little early and get there on time.
For sure. Yeah.
But I really wanted to say that it's going to be a great event, a good person. So I'm sure there's going to be a good crowd there.
Fantastic. And you can
Amen. Yeah.
RSVP to Dan's event by going to dan@gmail.com.
Please go and email me or just send me text message or call me, put them on social media, say I'm coming. I just want to see everyone there. So let's work together to make sure that our state continue to be the best state in America. Our country be the best place in the face of the earth. That should be our goal. We all should stand for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, fantastic. And also don't forget to register to vote. The election is still a couple months away, not till early November, but don't forget to register and also don't forget to vote for Dan Mathews.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Dan,
Yeah,
thanks
you
so
bet.
much for being on our show tonight. We appreciate your time and we appreciate and best of luck to you. Hopefully you'll be able to have a victory show after the election.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And yeah,
Thank you,
and thank you.
Krishna.
And yes, I'll echo Teresa's thanks for coming on our show. It was a real pleasure to have you. And yes, definitely we'll pray for your success this election and best of luck, sir.
All right. Thank you. It's good to be with you.
You bet.
Thank you.
Okay. Take care.
Have a
Dan.
great
Good
night.
Sure.
Okay, folks. So there he was, Dan Mathews, who FMAG is endorsing. So you got to hear from the man himself. And as you mentioned, if you can make his event on September 7th, you can hear from him in person there too.
And I was looking at his opponent. I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly, but it's Suleman Lalani. And
Yeah. Yep.
I just kind of happened to, I don't really know anything about him, so I'm not going to speak of him. But I do see that he is a current doctor. So, hey,
Right. Or that's his title,
Suleman
doctor.
Lalani, I would love to see you come on our show so we could talk to you about what your point of views are with the lockdowns and the vaccines and everything like that. So if you are listening or someone knows him and wants to reach out to him, love to have you on the show as well and get your perspective as well.
Yep, for sure. And just like we had mentioned last week, at FMAG we do practice the real diversity and inclusion, where we include people from all sides and all parties to give them a chance to speak and defend their positions, and we don't censor or exclude folks just because we don't agree with their positions or we don't like what their agenda is. Unlike the left and big tech, especially YouTube and Google and the like. And even, quite frankly, the mainstream corporate media.
It's interesting because I believe it was yesterday that Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I think that she's kind of hokey. I think that, her campaign ads are just a little bit silly, but when she was running for Georgia, but, she's been one of those, I guess, loudmouths coming out and speaking up against, at least she's saying things that sound like they're on our conservative side, but
she's fighting against like the Democratic Party and the Biden and the deep state corruption. I don't know like how good or how exact her stance is on promoting liberty is, but I don't think they're bad. But yeah, I mean I've not researched too much, what she said and what she's done on that front.
Well,
but she's definitely getting like targeted and persecuted. Very unjustly and very disturbingly, for sure.
Well, she was swatted a couple of nights ago. And so anyway, after hearing about all of that, my husband actually tried looking her up on Google. If you try to Google Marjorie Taylor Greene or try to, start, you're not going to come up with her right away. I mean, you would think
really?
that would be yeah.
Wow, what do you come up with?
I'm going to do it right now because he did it last night. So let me do it right now. I'm going to go Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Oh, right. I remember back in the 2012 election, where the news would show during the primary season, the Republicans, they would say, Mitt Romney was in first place in the poll. I think Newt Gingrich second. And then they would say Rick Santorum was fourth without even mentioning that Ron Paul was number 3.
Yeah. It's interesting because I promise you he did it just last night when we were listening to that little information. But now, of course, I see her name everywhere in the news and everything, probably because of the swatting that had happened. But, it was maybe it was because we were the cell phone when we were looking up. Who knows? But I did just double check the Google and her name was.
Right. I mean, these algorithms can change literally every snap of the figure, and maybe they're listening and they change it because of that.
True. Of course. Yeah.
Being a little tongue in cheek there, but yeah.
Well, I'm really interested. I'm really happy to be attending the Kash Patel event tomorrow night, and hopefully we'll have some updates about what's going on. So
for sure. Yep, and that perhaps could be things that we'll cover in next week's show, as well as some other news items that we ran out of time to get to today. But yeah, I'm certainly looking forward to that as well.
All right. Well, everyone, have a great night. It's thank you for sticking with us a little overtime tonight, but have a great night and a great week.
Indeed, it was worth it. But I'll echo Teresa's thanks to our audience for tuning in. As always, we love you. And yes, enjoy the weekend. And we'll see y'all next Thursday at 7 p.m.